Thanks for coming to hang out with us today. Ruck Up Buttercup is a podcast hosted by Deployed Love. We chat about real things that military families deal with and help you to love the call to action. So you know the drill. Ruck Up Buttercup. Ruck Up Buttercup podcast can be found on all your favorite streaming locations. As well, we are now available on Reach Across America Radio on Fridays at 11 p.m. and Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can find Reach Across America Radio on the iHeartRadio app, the Odyssey app, and the TuneIn app. Just search the word Reef. Can't wait to see you there. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Ruck Up Buttercup. We are here to have a girl chat, which is so much fun. We're getting back in the habit of having girl chats once a month. And we are going to be back here with Laura, as you guys can see here. And that's really exciting for us. But what we want to do is, because Ashley and I have very similar story. Laura obviously has a little bit different, but still has been in for a long time. We're hoping to reach out to one of you lovely ladies who listens to the show, who might be younger or just newer to the military world, who might be willing to come join us for girl chats for the rest of the year, because we want to have a whole wide variety of spouse stories that we are giving out to our community. So if you guys are looking for a chance to volunteer somewhere and would like to possibly just be part of a fun community, I think we're fun to talk to. So if you guys want to come join us once a month, we would love to have another face on here talking to us. But we're going to go ahead and reintroduce ourselves too, because as a lot of you may have come off of TikTok or Instagram recently, we kind of wanted you guys to get to know who we are. So I'm Sabrina. I'm one of the co-hosts for all the episodes, and I've been around for a few years. This is year 4 on the podcast. I founded Deployed Love, which you hear us talk about a lot. I have 2 kids that I homeschool. One is a preteen, which has been joyful, which we'll talk about later in this episode, and then a 9-year-old. So that is mostly me.
And I'm Ashley. I'm the other official co-host for the podcast, and I've also been around for the last few years as well. I am the executive director for Deployed Love. Like Sabrina said, we talk a lot about that on here. I am a mom of 2 as well. My oldest is 9 and my youngest is almost 6. And I'm an Army spouse and brat.
And I'm the newbie. I'm Laura. I just recently joined. I joined the ladies earlier this year for a talk about mental health. I'm a surviving spouse, a veteran, and now an Army wife. I have 3 kids. We have a 15, almost 16-year-old. Yay, driving. Ugh. And 11-year-old. Both of those do public online school. And then my youngest goes to public school, and she is 9.
So we have all age groups right now. We have high school, middle, elementary school.
And then I have another stepdaughter, but she's 21. So
you've kind of experienced it all as it flows through.
But yeah, all over the place.
Yeah, so that's what we're here to talk about today for Girl Chat. Is just motherhood and the things that if you're a mom, if you're not a mom, or a dog mom even, you kind of have an idea of what motherhood is like. Maybe you're planning to have a child. Hopefully this doesn't deter you from that, because I'm sure that there's just stories and stages throughout every age where it's this has been the hardest day of my life. But
yeah,
welcome to
we should
birth control episode.
Yes, I preference we love our children dearly. Everyone who's listening, we love them. There are times where we have been what were we thinking? At least for me, I'm what was I thinking? Crazy times. And there's just so much that comes into being a mom, especially a military spouse who's a mom, because you are a sole provider 80% of the time. That seems the right number, right? About 80%.
Their schedules are crazy.
I feel like that's low.
Yeah. I was gonna say 90 at first, but I thought that was a little extreme, so I went with the 80. But today, for instance, it's just been a chaotic day, and it's all fell in my lap. I was able to call him and tell him what was happening, but at the same time, it was just the nurse was not the nurse, but the vet was hey, do you want someone here? Do you need to make calls? So I was yeah, I'll make a call, but it's my decision. Ultimately, it's my decision. I handle everything.
I handle the house.
Everything.
If it lives in the house, it's my job.
Yeah. If it belongs to us, I am majority decision maker in a lot of things. And so Yeah, it's just crazy. I was actually laughing because I picked up Claire today, my almost 6-year-old, and she has her first loose tooth.
Oh.
And she is freaking out, y'all. Like, she's like, I'm so scared. I'm like, honey, it's a natural thing. Like, it's supposed to happen. Like, this is supposed to happen. Your tooth is supposed to be loose. That means you're getting older and your adult teeth are coming in. She's like, but mom, it hurts. I'm like, well, it might hurt a little bit, but you'll be fine. And Devlin's
Kara
like,
was
yeah,
like that too, but she would not let anybody touch it. And so it was like hanging by a thread. And finally I just like took it and yanked it out. I was like, I can't. It's so disgusting. She'd just be flipping it with her tongue. I was like, yeah, we're done.
I have noticed as the kids have gotten older, I don't want to say like less sympathetic, but like I felt so bad. So Devlin had a basketball game the other night and he hurt his hand. Like he like stubbed like his finger, but he wasn't really complaining about it. And so like, but he started to complain about it right before he had to go get in bed. So I was like, well, let's just see. So I grabbed his hand and I kind of like curled it in and just instant tears. He's like, that hurts so bad. I was like, I am so sorry. And I looked at it and his hand was like all swollen. I was like, I'm so sorry. I genuinely thought that you were faking. He was fine. And I gave him lots of kisses and snuggles and everything like that. But he was like, no, mom, it actually does hurt.
Did he jam it?
Yeah, it looks like he jammed it. Like like just the bottom part was like the bottom section was a little swollen. Because I saw him like holding his hand during the game, but like he had sliced his finger like a week and a half ago, so I thought it was that finger that was hurting, and it ended up not being that finger. I felt so bad.
I think a jam.
Like,
I swear that hurts worse than
It
anything
does.
because it's like, okay, let me tape it, but that's about all I can do.
but like he wasn't complaining about it until it was like time to go in bed. So that's why I was like, I think you're just faking. Like if you can bend your finger, it's not broken. Because like I think it's broken. I'm like, you haven't said a single thing about it since it happened, and then all of a sudden, and then but
about it because Darren. So Darren, we were at the park.
So bad.
We were at the park yesterday and I didn't know that he had gotten hurt. I had no clue. And so then later in the day, my friend messaged me. She's like, hey, how's Darren's leg looking? He came over and got a Band-Aid from me. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, he hasn't said anything about it. I was like, that's a very good question. She's like, oh, he was missing a pretty good chunk of skin. I was like, wow, I'm glad that he survived that. He just like forgot that he'd heard it. And he like shows me, he's like, oh yeah, she just gave me a Band-Aid. It's fine. I was like, how do you forget that you lost a chunk of your leg?
Because they guarantee you, especially boys. I feel like boys are the, like, once they get on to moving on to the next thing and they like hyper focus on that thing, like everything else goes out the window. At least
it's opposite at my house.
Yeah.
I mean, Sabrina knows mine too. At my youngest, she is tough as nails, and my son is the one who, oh my goodness, I got dirt on me, I scratched my knee, like it. Yeah, it's the complete opposite. I'm pretty sure Astrid could break something and she would want to finish playing.
Yeah.
And then
see, Claire's so dramatic. She used to be tough as nails. Like I feel like she used to be my kid that like she falls and gets hurt, she's fine. But she's also at the same time like she scrapes her knee, she can't walk for days. Or like she's my daredevil. I should say like she's the daredevil. She's the one that has like she'll climb and the one that's getting dirty and rough and tough and all that kind of stuff. But then at the same time, like the other day, she got taken out in gym class. Like some kid just plowed over her. And I'm sure those who like follow to play love have seen pictures of her. She's a teeny tiny little thing. And so she like hurt her arm, bumped her arm, like didn't actually hurt it, but you would have thought she broke her arm. But she's like obsessed with casts right now because 2 of her classmates have casts and she wants a cast. And I'm like, I promise you, you do not want a cast. Like, it's not going to be fun. So we had to put a fake cast on. And the amount of times I've had to do this, y'all, where I've had to go get a wrap to put a fake cast on her because she wants a cast. I can't even, like, it's one of those things where I'm just like, the things that we do for our children just to make them happy is just so funny to me.
See, with
Like,
Claire, I think it's just drama and she likes the
she's
attention. She
so
wants
dramatic.
attention. Her friends
Yes.
are getting
You know what she
attention for
did?
her elbows. And
You know what she did? So I picked her up early because like this happened at like 12:30. The school called me to tell me like what happened. And then an hour later they called me again. The nurse called me. She goes, "Hey, I just saw Claire in the hallway and she was cradling her arm." I was like, "Well, you've called me twice. I'm assuming you want me to come get her." So I went and got her. We went to Walmart, got her cast, and we had to come back and pick up Devlin. Walks into the gym because we go walk in to pick up the kids at the school that they're at. And she's cradling her arm, showing everybody that would look and give her attention. Like, look at my cat.
she just
I'm
wants
like,
the attention.
girl,
How funny.
she can make herself cry by just blinking her eyes. I'm like, you need to like go into acting. Like, you need to go into a theater class or do something because you are Miss Drama Queen. And she totally gets it from me. Like, I can't be like upset with her because I'm pretty sure I was that way as a kid too, but she's so good and she knows how to get what she wants, and it's so funny.
See, I miss those young ages. Like, my kids have gotten past like it's still kind of cute when they do things to the point where we're like, dude, no more, because you're just being ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm definitely much more like if Devlin does something, I'm just like, no, you are too old to be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
But then Claire does it and it's fine. Oh no.
I just miss them being cute and little, though. I just miss the, like, I remember when Darren went to preschool, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get through the day because I don't get to hug and snuggle him all day. He's always been my, like, laying on top of me child, and I'm like, oh. But he still does.
I was
He's lucky
totally
'cause we don't-
the we're at school tuck and roll mom. I'm like, I get 3 hours when my youngest was in preschool. We got 3 hours in the afternoon. I was like, tuck and roll. The bus is here. Bye.
Yeah, see, I was that way too. I had, and I think it was more along the lines of because I personally think I had like postpartum anxiety, and so like I needed to have that like just downtime of just quiet, no one bothering me, no one like doing anything like that. So like when they were both in school, I was like, hallelujah, like I love you guys. Go make friends, have fun. I will see you at pickup. And I'm even today, like when they're home, I'm like, God, they're home. Like, this is supposed to be my work time. This is supposed to be my me time.
Yeah, I miss the quiet time, but I also really enjoy them being here. Like, we do get to go and do whatever we want during the day because school takes up just a couple hours, and then we can go to the park for hours and spend the rest of the day at the park. So I'm
lucky that I have a teenager and I can be like, okay, well, I'm going to the store and I'm going to walk every aisle and I will be back.
Yeah.
I feel like as they get older, a lot of it changes too. Like, I feel like my kids are now at the age where they're a little bit more independent. Claire still is in that kind of borderline stage of wanting to be like just near me all the time. And I think that was my biggest part with my anxiety is like having someone physically touch me all the time was like what was like one of my triggers. And so when she went to preschool, it gave me like that little bit of freedom to do that. But now that they're older and they're gone during the day, like it's great because then like we can go do all the fun things when they get home from school. Speaking of children, mine are stomping right now. So if you can hear them, welcome to my life.
Mine are in bed, thankfully, for doing late podcasts in Germany.
I don't know what they're doing.
We live like 2 blocks from my daughter's elementary school, and she's the only one still in actual school. The other 2 are at home. So I told the teenager, I was like, hey, we're jumping on late today. You're going to have to go walk down there and get her. I was like, welcome to your PE class.
Yeah, it is nice when they get older because like here in Germany, I mean, the rules are a lot different. So the kids can stay home alone when we go. So I can still go do groceries alone. But Kara's also turning 12 on Monday. So I'm like, you can babysit your brother.
Yeah. Well, I think that's like as they're getting older, like it's opening more opportunities for us to do things. Like, you know, we've been talking about like where we're gonna go after this assignment, things like that, and like it's opening things where like, oh, these would be really fun places to go with the kids being older because traveling with them will be easier. We won't have to bring all of these things with us because we have an infant or or a toddler, but they're also just more excited to do things like go out and about, but at the same time, like getting them off their screens and doing things is also
Yeah.
a
So
like
the screen thing, I don't know. And I think it's just because we're all like older millennials and it's an issue with me because I'm like, I really just wish it didn't exist. It drives me crazy. And I never know what to do with it because like when they're being bad because of their screen, if you take it away, then there's more time with them around you being bad and mad
Or
about it.
begging
And
you
yeah, and it just becomes like this huge stress to me, especially with my
for, I'll be
9-year-old.
at
And
work.
he started this like getting up in the middle of the night now, and he comes downstairs and plays Xbox, and Dustin gets up at 4 for work, and he's awake at 4 in the
oh
morning
no.
playing video games. Like how, like what do you do? I don't, the addiction that these kids have to their screens is like and we're down to the point where they don't do screens on school days already, so it's like how, I don't even know how to get them to just be normal children.
Thank God
I
my router lets me
Devin got,
block certain devices.
yeah, he did that. Yeah, we did that. Devin got in a lot of trouble a couple weeks ago with actually he was at the babysitters and wasn't listening and he was told to be good and things like that. So he lost all of his screens for 2 weeks. And it was one of those things that like the last 2 weeks have been like so much smoother with him not having his computer, his Game Boy or Nintendo or whatever it's called, things like that. And so he's, you know, we've gone down to they only get an hour a day on screens, and then he loses things if he's choosing to make bad behavior. But it was a huge difference. But Devlin also has ADHD, so like that really like he really does hyper focus on when he's doing something, like if he's doing, especially if it's something he really enjoys. And so breaking that with him usually kind of comes with like behavior. But like, you know, I caught him playing on the computer the other night and we're like, okay, that's gone. It's gone for until we decide to give it back to you, because you can't do that. That's not okay. Your body needs rest. Your body needs to recover at nighttime. So like when it's time for bed, it's time for bed.
Yeah, but I feel like when I take it away from them, the struggle becomes the like, I'm bored. And then they follow me around, and then I am stressed out because there's kids around me 24/7 where I'm like, just go do something.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest struggle as a mom is like feeling guilty for taking away what's normal now. Like the screens are super normal in society, and like taking it away, and then it's also causing me stress. So it's like, I just want to give it back to you because you're quiet and you're not bothering me and annoying me when you have it. But I don't know. Parenting is so hard when it comes to things like that.
So I'm guilty of telling my kids that they can play Prodigy and them not realizing that it's really schoolwork.
Yeah, we do Prodigy too, but
I'm like, I feel bad because I tricked you, but you're leaving me alone so I can vacuum the floor. But you're also learning, so I kind of don't feel bad.
I told Devin like, you know, you can earn more time by doing these things. And it's like reading, like you have to read for like however, like if you read for this long, you can have this much extra time on your screen and stuff like that. Now, has he done that yet? No. But he's been given the choice of like, if you want extra time. Now he can either do extra chores or he can read. So he did do extra chores the other day, but I just kind of like, if you're gonna, but we blocked YouTube in the house. Like there's YouTube password protected and everything because like YouTube is a huge issue for us. Like, and then everything they watch on that, I'm just like, why? It is so dumb, y'all. Like
it is so dumb.
And so like Jeremy went in and put like a password on all of these TVs. So like you can't even log into YouTube. Cause I told him, I was like, you know, I don't want you to delete YouTube because I use it for like research purposes and things like that. And I'd rather watch it on the TV than on like my laptop. So he put a password protection, and that's been great because like I said, he hyper focuses on things. And I'm just like, find something that's like good for your brain. Like, I don't care what it is. You tell me that you want to do X, Y, and Z and it's not screen related, I'm going to back you. But basketball's been great. Like I said, getting him into a sport has been, even though it's been chaotic because of how unorganized it's been great because he's enjoy going out and practicing after school in the driveway. He's enjoying going to practice the games, and we're only 2 weeks in, so I'm like, this is 100% staying. Like, he has to do a sport. Like, I don't, at this point, like, he has to do a sport.
Yeah,
Which
Alex is in karate, but what's nice about it is they've partnered with some of the Texas ISDs, so it's counting for his PE credit. So next year when he starts junior high, his PE credit's taken care of because he'll go to karate twice a week, and I don't have to worry about trying to figure out what he's going to do because, again, he does it at home. So at least the karate, he's getting out and it kills off his energy because it's right at the end of the day.
Yeah. That would definitely be nice.
It's been so worth it. I wish my daughter could have stayed in gymnastics, but she's coming up on a pretty big surgery, so we had to pull her, and she's pretty upset about that. But hopefully, again later. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put Claire. I just found out that there's a dance studio right up the road, so she wants to do cheerleading so bad, and I'm just like, there's not a cheerleading place near us that does like that kind of stuff, and the rec department doesn't have it here. So I was like, well, what about dance again? I was like, get her out and doing something active every night, or not every night, but at least once a week. And like, what kind of sucks about though is like, yeah, it's more of our time, but like the amount of like the difference in like behavior that I've seen with just Devlin being in a sport for 2 weeks has been pretty drastic. Like, he's in a better mood. He's not wanting to be, like I said, he's not on his screen as often. So, but I don't know how our mama friends who have kids in multiple sports do it. Cause I was just like, just one sport. I mean, we do scouts, Boy Scouts too, but.
Well, yeah, even when my kids, both of them were in soccer because they were 3 years apart, they were never on the same team. So even when they were, it was like Kira would have practice Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Darren would have a Tuesday, Thursday. We were at the park every day of the week after school. And I was like, man, how do people do this? And then you're there on Saturdays. I'm like, this is a full-time job at this point. Like, why am I here 5 days, 6 days a week? And then their games, of course, like his would be like 8:30 in the morning and hers wouldn't be until 11. And it was like, but there's not enough time to go home. So you're just like stuck at the park for hours again. I was like, how do you function and have a job and have kids and like do all that with sports? I don't know that. So our kids don't really do sports. Darren desperately wants to join the swim team, but the crazy freaking swim team, the American swim team here for kids, practices at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 days a week.
Yeah.
I was like, no, that's never happening.
So my twin did swimming. So she did swimming and soccer, and I did like cross country and softball. So of course we were doing like different sports, different seasons, all that kind of stuff. But my mom would have to get up. They practice in the first thing in the mornings too. And she would have to get up and take, which was so weird that Brittany chose this sport because Brittany was one of those kids who hated waking up. Like, she was not a morning person. And she would have, and then they practice an hour away. So like they would have to go drive to the swim place, and then like it was an all day swim meet and things like that. But you know, like my mom did it, and I mean, thankfully she did, because Brittany, like, that was like the only thing Brittany showed interest in during that time. Like, she didn't do good in school or anything like that. And so my mom was just like, I just have to keep her positive in one thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like my parents kind of raised me to be like when we were growing up, we had to do a sport. It didn't matter what sport it was. We had to pick at least one sport to do within the school year. Of course, I did multiple, but like on top of the recs, I did like dance and stuff too. And I kind of like, one point I was like, why do I have to do this? But then like growing up and now having kids, I'm like, I can understand the importance of having a sport or some type of activity outside of school to connect with other kids, but also kind of like build up on either social skills or something. So like that's why Devlin did scouts for so long, because we tried him in soccer when he was little, and organized sports was just a no-go. But that was before we found out he had like ADHD and all that kind of stuff. But now that he's older, it's really been, I wish I had put him in it earlier. And I didn't put him in it earlier because I was just like, that's just another thing that's on my plate that I have to deal with.
Yeah, it's a struggle. I mean,
But
that's the whole just deciding like what you're willing to take on. Because I know I personally can't take on a ton of things. I just will not. I burn out too easily on that. So
yeah.
But my kids get to go to gym class. They go to a gym with the Germans every Wednesday. So that it's like PE basically. So they try different sports like you would do in PE in class. But the Germans don't really do PE in their schools. So they have all these after school type programs. And because we don't have to be enrolled through the school, they can just go down there and they do PE class with the kids their age. And I was like, this works out so great because they're getting all of their sports and they're learning sports that they've never even heard of. I don't even know. Like they're playing handball. I don't even know what that means. They came home, they're like, we learned how to play handball. I was like, cool. I don't know what that is, but good for you.
Isn't that like the bouncy ball on the wall thing?
I think so.
Maybe.
I think so.
Like, okay.
I remember playing that in middle school. Like that was that's a really big thing in Europe.
Yeah.
Because like I remember our school when we were stationed over in Germany had like a handball court. And I'm pretty sure it's just like a big old bouncy ball that you throw at a wall.
But it also is good for them because then they're getting their like experience with other cultures too. Because they're the only two Americans. I think there's one Indian family who speaks English and that they talk to too, but they have to use their German that they're learning to talk to the kids every week. So it's good for both things.
That's good. Oh no. Just like when you're making the decisions to put your kids into like some type of activity, you do have to make the best decision for you, the parent, because I mean, Devlin's been in basketball and like every night that he's had a game or practice, Jeremy's worked through that practice time frame. So you have to make the best decision for your family on any that goes for anything, like anything for your family, like whether it's school, homeschool, after school sports, birthday parties, not having a birthday party. I think we've talked about that before. I know you're in the middle of planning.
If we go into that whole preteen thing, yeah. So my daughter turns 12 on Monday, and tomorrow night we have 7 girls over for a sleepover who are also preteens. Not extremely thrilled about the situation. It was originally supposed to be at the park, but it's supposed to be really rainy, and half the people had canceled. So it was down to just these 7 girls that were going to come anyways. And I was like, okay, Kira, we'll just shift gears. Like, it's fine. We'll just have them over at the house and we'll do sleepover. And I was like, I don't know if I'm prepared for that. So we ended up buying like a bunch of like blankets and all the like good salon, like spa night stuff for each of them, and balloons. You can't see it behind me, but there's like a bunch of stuff going on over here. So now I'm just like prepping my mind to get through the night. I was like, as long as we just keep going with all the little girly movies, like 13 going on 30 all night, and just keep them happy.
Like, that age group though, like I feel like you won't have to like really fully be immersed into like everything they're doing. Like you just kind of have to be like, I'm gonna leave the door open so I can hear if anything inappropriate is happening.
Yeah.
Or if someone needs me. But 12, is this her first sleepover?
She's had sleepovers with some of the girls, but like a party sleepover like this, yeah, probably.
Much fun. I remember my first sleepover party. Can't believe I can, but I can remember that. Was that? Yeah, but that was 3rd grade. I can't believe that's the thing though. Like some of the things that my parents let me do as a kid, I would be like, nope, you're too young to go over to someone's house. But I feel like we're also like just more aware of things that happen.
I think so. There's been a lot of huge things and that we yeah.
Because now I think about that first sleepover party thing was 3rd grade.
Just super tiny, yeah. I mean, I guess not. Like thinking that's the same age as our kids, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against sleepovers, but like Claire keeps asking for it, and I'm like, no.
Gotta wait.
I'm sorry. Like unless if it was like friends like me and you, like your kids coming over to my house, like that's one thing, but like going just to like invite your class over.
Yeah, and I
Like,
think that's the difference, like, with us is, like, because we homeschool, not only
yeah,
do all of our events I get to meet all of her friends, but I
right?
meet all their parents too, and I think that when
See,
they were in
that's the
public school,
best
she'd always
time.
want to do sleepovers, and I was like, "I don't even know who their mom is. I don't even know how
Yeah.
to get in contact with that person's
Yep.
mom." Like, I can't invite
Yep.
your friends to my house. They have no idea who I am,
Yeah.
and so it
Well, that's
makes
the
it
Claire. Like
easier.
Claire's like, can I go over to so and so's house or can they come over to mine? And I'm like, honey, like, I mean, that's fine. I mean, I'm always like, I'd rather people come to my house just because
Yeah.
I don't know their parents, but like at the same time, they don't know us either. So I don't know.
That's definitely the difference between our kids versus us, because my parents would be like, okay, whatever, write down their phone
Yeah,
number, maybe.
yeah, yeah. Like that was literally like I was thinking about that. I was like, dang, like that was third grade, and it was a boy and girl sleepover. Now the parents that we stayed over like separated, like when we actually went to sleep, like the boys slept in one area and the girls slept in the other. But like it was one of those like I would have been like, what? Like that's crazy. In
Yeah, I
third
definitely
grade,
went
you're
to
9 to
several of
10.
those.
Yeah.
And my parents thought nothing of it because it was their friends' kids and we had grown up together. So, yeah, they didn't
Yep.
care.
The only
But we
boy-girl
definitely
sleepovers I had was, like, I was friends with the one sister, and then her little brother, who's only a couple years younger than us, would have a sleepover at the same time, and you're kinda like, "Does my mom need to know that part?" No, because it's not Sammy's not having her friends boyfriends over, we just happen to be hanging out with her brother's friends.
and it's funny that I'm like saying this because I'm not even really that strict when it comes to like because like I like to know like if my kid's gonna stay over at someone's house for a long period of time, I like to know the parent, like at least met the parent once or twice beforehand, kind of know parenting style, things like that. Like I would have no issues of like my kids coming to your house for an overnight. I mean, they did my kids spend the night with you at one point? I can't remember. Did they actually do that or did I cancel that? I can't even remember. Like, that's just
We
typical,
have
like,
people in and out of our house, and Rebecca's kids have been there multiple times, I don't know.
I'm talking about this, but then at the same time, like, it's such a funny thing for a military spouse to say this because, like, we are typical for having to find, like, last minute childcare to cover for our kids, like, whether we know the person or not. And, like, you see that all the time, like, hey, I need someone to watch my kid overnight, and it's like a perfect stranger, and like everyone's like, don't do that. But like the amount of people, like we pay for sitters all the time to do those
Yeah, and I think that a
things.
lot of it, because we are military, though, we have this connection as long as they're other military people, right? Like, you know that they're relatively reliable people, right? Because they work for the military. And I think it just gives you that also a little bit sense of security for babysitters, I guess, at least, because you're like, oh, well, I
Or
also
that
could give you really big trouble and lose your job if something
yeah,
happens because
I was
I can
thinking
reach out to your
exactly
command.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say, or it could be that, like
Well, I think
we
that's a
can
lot
get
of
you
why,
in
like,
a lot more.
military, they wouldn't do anything wrong because there's so much that you could just be like, "Oh, okay, well, I can figure this
But
out."
then there's
I
Fort
can
Hood that says hold my beer. So
Yeah,
I feel like all those rules go out the window here because you see things daily of it. Like
yeah.
it's insane. Like I especially with Alex because Sabrina, you know, Alex is my allergy kid. Like that was one of the big reasons I pulled him away from public school was I was having such a big problem with kids touching his food or trying to shove food he was allergic to in his mouth. And I was just like,
Oh
nope.
no.
And one time Astrid saw it happen and she took care of that before the admin people could and she was in like kindergarten and she took care of her brother, but and luckily she didn't get in trouble because I would have
With kids
raised all sorts of
nowadays.
hell for that. But like I was just done. Like, yeah, it's not gonna send him into anaphylactic shock, but does he deserve 2 weeks worth of hell because
No,
his
that's
stomach
more than
is
bullying. That's like
Like, but that's
oh
the
assault.
thing.
yeah.
Like, what the hell is wrong with kids? And like, I like, growing up a military kid, like obviously there's still bullying no matter where you go. But I remember there being more bullying. I guess it really depends because like I felt like kids in the DoD schools were a little bit better behaved because it was on military installation. They knew who the parent was. They knew how to get in touch with the parent. And they knew that the parent would get in trouble if you were causing an issue at the school. Like, it didn't escape very well. But then, like, in a civilian school, kids don't really care. Like, yeah, who's your parent? Like, your parent can't do anything to me type of mentality. But kids nowadays, I can't, some of the things that they do blows my mind. Like, I was like, I would have never done anything like that.
Like, I'm not messing with people's food. Like, if they're giving it up willingly, heck yeah, I was going to eat it because that's Astrid. Mm-hmm. If somebody in her class has food that they are not going to eat and hasn't been opened, that kid's going to eat it. Like, she is teeny tiny, but she is going to take your snacks. But only if you offer it to her. But every year we were having multiple kids mess with Alex's food. And I was just like, nope, I'm done. I'm tired of it. And then I think the like last thing was I was in the pickup line and he was at PE, and they have one of the junior high or high school coaches as the fill-in PE teacher at his school. So he does nothing. He sits there on his phone. Like, you can watch him the whole time. It's really annoying. And they're playing outside, and this kid Alex isn't tiny because he's really tall, but he's really skinny. Alex picked up a Frisbee and was going to go, I don't know, take it back to the teacher or whoever the kids who had thrown it, give it back to them. And all of a sudden, this kid comes like full speed and tackles Alex. And I'm like, nope, I'm done, because the PE teacher didn't even look up from his phone. And Alex is sitting there like crying his eyes out because this kid had just laid him out like hard onto the ground. And I was like, no, I'm done.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the school system nowadays is a lot different from what it was when we were kids. You know, the fault of the staff themselves and not having enough staff, not having enough regulations in place. People just burnt the fuck out.
Yeah, I think that's so much of it. Yeah, the teachers, the good teachers have all quit, and the ones that are left aren't getting paid enough to care about those things. They're like, this PE time or this recess time is my 30 minutes to breathe. And
yeah. I mean, I was a teacher's kid, and my mom, we never were at the same school. But if I did something in class, my mom knew. Mm-hmm. Because her friends that worked at my school would have already told her before I even got home. And so I better have been walking through that door ready to get the butt chewing of my life because she already knew.
Yeah. Yeah. I really enjoy the school that the kids are at right now. Like, my first experience with him was kind of not okay. I wasn't told that he was moved classes on the first day of school, like different teacher, like even though they all had the same, like they all go to the elementary, all the school teachers in his class grade. My gosh, that was a mess. Sorry. But his homeroom teacher changed and no one notified me. So I was a little upset about that. But like, as they've been in the school, like, if like, you know, like for instance, like their gym teacher, like if anything seems off about the kids, like he'll come find me at pickup and be like, hey, like just wanted to let you know that Claire was a little sad today. Or, hey, she was coughing. Just wanted to let you know that I noticed she was coughing a little bit more today. Like, this school has been really great, but it's a teeny tiny town, and like it's a little bit more personable. I think there's only like, it's an elementary school to middle school. I think there's only like 500 kids in the entire like elementary middle school. So it's like a small school. And I've really enjoyed it. But we've been a part of schools where like they don't care. Like, you know, you can raise a question or express concern and they're just like, yep, I'm sorry, unfortunately that's just how it is. And it's just like, but that's not how it should be, type of thing. So
yeah, we've definitely had some experiences. I mean, that was kind of a lot of like Kira she fell so far behind in math, and it's still a struggle every day because of that. But it's because the one teacher, so at the time she had a split classroom, so the one teacher would teach like language arts and history and one would do math and the other. And so they were only in there during their time period. So the one teacher, she didn't really like her, and B was she was teaching math. And so Kira had gotten to a point where she was putting her head down during class and just like not participating. She was not interested. And it took weeks before the teacher was finally like, can you come in? We need to talk about like what's going on. And
See,
it
that's
became to the
okay.
point that Kira had been lost, did not understand a whole section of stuff. Nobody was willing to help her with it. And so she just gave
And they
up.
didn't tell
She
you.
was like, I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, she didn't tell
Well,
me
that
for
was
months. And it was like, we just finally found out and we're like, oh my God. Like I went back and was like looking through her stuff and I was like, you were so far behind your class.
Yeah.
And it's just because it was probably the smallest little thing that she just didn't get. And she just gave up. She's like, because like, you know, especially in like second and third grade, they just build really quickly on things.
Yep.
And so if you lose one part of it, you're just like, I have no idea. I have got no
Yeah.
idea.
That was Devlin. So like last year is when we diagnosed with Devlin with ADHD. And, you know, I kind of talked about it a little bit like here and there. Like, you know, I definitely think that he has, you know, a hard time focusing. He can be a little defiant at home, but he wasn't really showing anything at school. And it was kind of like a night and day difference. So his teacher did like reach out like after the first week and was just like, hey, like, is anything happening at home? Like, we've noticed that he's just like, he's not completing work, he's not staying on task, things like that. And so we just thought like, you know, we had just came back from Disney. So I was like, well, maybe he's just still on vacation mode. Like he's just, you know, it's halfway through the year, all that kind of stuff. And it just got progressively worse throughout the time. And even though that I was like, hey, like, what can I do? Like, what are things we can do? How, all that kind of stuff. Like the communication was just like, they kind of started labeling Devlin as this like troubled kid. And, you know, no matter how many times I was like, you know, hey, can I get like a weekly report or a daily report? Like, you know, I want to make him aware that it's not okay that he's behaving this way at school. And the teacher, like, not fully her fault, but like, you know, she was taking classes. So like he was having a sub 2 days a week every week. So then, you know, I just wasn't getting the reports that I needed. I was like, I need these reports to help diagnose him, like to figure out, you know, what he, like, you know, is it ADHD or is it something different? Finally, we got him on medication and it made a world of a difference. But, you know, having the teacher fully like commit to help solving that was like, it was just kind of like, she did her job at telling me something was wrong, but there was no like
Follow up.
hey, I want to help you figure this out and like help him be the best he can be. Where it was just like, hey, like he just didn't listen today. Like that was just what I was getting. Like, hey, he didn't listen today. And I'm like, well, at all? A part of the day? Like what part of the day? Like all that kind of stuff. And so, and I understand that that's not necessarily their job to like do those things. They have other kids in their classroom that they have to do. But at the same time, it was a night and day difference. Like it was, he was AB honor roll and then bam, nothing. And then now he's almost a straight A student. And you would have never known that he struggled all of last year.
Well, I do think it should be the teacher's responsibility to help advocate for neurodivergency because I feel like that they are the ones that see our kids in those strict settings. At home, you can kind of get glimpses of it, but unless they're in a real strict setting where they have to focus on something, you don't really know for sure whether that's what it is. And I think that those teachers have this opportunity to see kids in that realm where that they need the help. So they should be the first person to come to be like, hey, have you thought about getting diagnosed for this thing?
Yeah, like I had to be the one that kind of asked all the questions and then like, you know, like, well, what are the steps for the school to, you know, make sure that, you know, he's, you know, not getting in trouble. Cause like Devlin was starting to show like impulse behaviors, so, like not thinking things through and things like that. And so he made a couple, like he made a gun gesture at school. He like did the finger across the throat gesture at another time. And they were just like, we're going to expel him. And I'm like, whoa, like what happened led up to that? Like, he is not a violent kid. He's never once, like, because I mean, I preach kindness. Like, I'm throwing up a rainbow out of my mouth. Like, we are kind to everybody, no matter if they're unkind to us. Like, you never know if someone's having a bad day, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so my kids have been taught that, like, we're kind to everybody. Like, we're not physical in a mean way. Like if we are upset about something, we go talk to an adult or something like that about it. And so I was like, can you explain to me what happened beforehand? Because right now you guys are telling me that he made this like threatening gesture, like he was going to kill a student. And you guys should know enough about my child that he's been there that long, that is not him. Like that's not who he is. He's the kindest, sweetest little thing ever. like he's the first person to make sure if someone's hurt, he's the first person to go and check if they're okay and things like that. And so I was like, well, what did the student do to him? Like, what did that student do? Like, and they're like, nothing. And I'm like, there's no way that they didn't do nothing. Like, you either caught him copying somebody or like vice versa. And I was like, did you ask him? And they're like, yeah, but he couldn't tell us. And that was kind of like where it led up to like the ADHD, like diagnosis and stuff like that, because I was like, like he's like doing things and then not like remembering that he's done them. And I was like, dude, you just can't do it. But it was like happened multiple times. And like they were starting to label him as this bad kid. I'm like, he's one of the sweetest kids. He's goofy and he can be extra, but he's super sweet. And like, and I'm not trying to be like, I'm his mom, I'm biased. I'm like, he genuinely is a sweet kid and you are his teacher and you should know this. And like one time his teacher was like, yeah, I know, like it just doesn't seem like him. Like it just seems like something's wrong. And I'm like, nothing's wrong. So I'm like asking you, has he gone to the school counselor? No. I'm like, well, why not? Like you guys are so worried about his behavior. Why haven't you sent him to the school counselor for him to talk to someone? If he's not talking to you, he's not talking to me. So I'm a firm believer that you have to advocate for your kids, though. And I feel like that's unfortunately something a lot of us have to do a lot more than we used to have. Either A, we just weren't aware of it, or we just have to advocate more and be involved more than we may like. But I also feel it's really important because like if we're not doing it, we're not teaching our kids how to be decent human beings, we're just going to continue to see kids who are not so nice.
So Alex he has all the allergy problems, but he's also autistic. And so I describe him as Sheldon.
Okay.
Like that is 100% Alex. So little, not off, but different. And like, he doesn't get jokes. He doesn't get sarcasm. So I've had some of his teachers. I've had some that were amazing because they had autistic kids themselves. And like, they instantly picked up on it with Alex. And then I had one teacher last year that was like, oh, are you sure? And I'm like, oh, sorry. Did he not do the autism today? And like, it was ridiculous. But then on the same hand, the great teachers, they've left. Like they're not at the school district anymore. And it's like that sucks so bad. And then we had a high schooler and we pulled her from the high school because she would go into art class and have a drink and her teacher would have a bitch fit because she had a drink. And I was like hoping she would call me because I am that parent that I would have walked in that parent teacher conference and opened a fucking drink.
Yeah.
Because really my kid's making an A and your biggest concern is it's the very last class of the day and she had a water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please bitch about something else because a water is the least of your worries.
I definitely feel that, like you said, like a lot of the good teachers are gone, but like unfortunately for like teachers, like I feel they're not paid enough in my opinion. No. Like they definitely they're and I can understand like a lot of the teachers, spend a lot of their money on their classrooms and things like that. And like, and even if like they're a great teacher and they have bad moments, they're just so burnt out because of the limited resources and the limited of things like that. And a lot of the teachers are not trained. Like I personally, I mean, obviously this is more schooling, but like I personally think every single teacher should go through training to become aware of autistic kids who are diagnosed with Asperger's, kids who have behavioral disorders, kids who may have undiagnosed behavioral disorders because of the families they're growing up in and they don't know what is right and what is wrong, and the amount of kids in our school system that deal with that. And they're just labeled as bad kids and nobody takes the time to work with them and help them be better and more successful. They're just kind of like, like
kind of pushing them through. Yeah, he did good enough.
Yeah.
My daughter used to get in trouble for drawing on, like she would get done with her work super fast and she would make 100 on it. But her teacher's biggest problem was, she flips over the piece of paper and starts drawing. And I'm like, okay, well, one, she's in the process of getting diagnosed with ADHD. But two, do you want her running around? Because that's what she'll do. If you let
But
her,
like, why
that's what
is
she's
that an
absolutely going to do.
issue? Like,
She
why
was
is that an issue?
self-controlled. Enjoy her picture because they're usually hilarious.
Yeah, Devlin's the same way. Like when he's done with his work, like if you go look at his work, there'll be little drawings on the side or on the back
Everywhere.
of it, or he'll have a separate piece of paper that he has drawing. And I'm always like, and like, you know, I would question like, hey, like, were you doing drawings or did you do your work? He goes, no, I finished my work. And I'm like, okay, great. And like his grades reflect that he's AB honor roll all this year. Super, like I keep telling him, I'm like, just his thing that keeps him from being straight A's is his handwriting, because he just does everything so freaking fast and like he's not neat. But I told him, I was like, if you would just slow down a teeny tiny bit, you would be straight A's. And he wants to have straight A's. Like he wants to be like, ha, like I've got straight A's, like nothing can slow me down type of thing. But
I think the handwriting thing is a super ADHD thing. We were talking about that at our homeschool meetup the other day, because I was like, Darren's handwriting is awful, and it doesn't help that he's dyslexic. I mean, so every word is like scrambled anyways. But like, I think it's because he thinks way too fast, and so he has all the ideas for the whole like 5 sentences are already there, and then he's like, I can't get this onto paper, so then it's all just a huge mess. So my friend was
But it's also a boy thing.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
she
I
said
think
at
it's a boy
home,
thing too.
what she has her son do is record his thoughts like as a voice memo, and then he re-listens to it and rewrites what he was thinking. And I was like, that's a good
really
idea. Good idea for like
I do that because I do that. Like if I'm like trying to write out something, and if I type it out, I'll lose all train of thought. So I'll go and either record it, or I mean, it's great nowadays because they have like the text to like the record to text thing. But I can at least get all of my thoughts down, and then I can go like fix it and fluff it up and things like that. But I do that. So like, and I'm 36, almost 36 years old. So
it's a good tip for ADHD. Like that was like some of the coolest things that she told me. I was like, you know, that would work so good.
And oh my God, he's left-handed. Well, luckily for this school, most everything's typed. Like nothing that they see is in his handwriting, because he could be a doctor already because he's got that handwriting down pat.
I feel like that's a boy thing because like Jamie got so mad. So I posted like a picture of like this handwritten card he wrote me for Valentine's Day, like when we first started dating, and he got so mad that I posted that. And I was like, your handwriting is still the same today.
The same.
I got handwriting. Yeah. He was so mad. I was like, it's not that big of a deal. Like most guys have bad handwriting.
In the day and age of typing, it isn't that big of a deal. But Dustin, he gets on Darren about his handwriting when he like looks at assignments. And I'm like, let me see you write it though, because I feel like your handwriting's not massively different.
Like, yeah, and I mean, and Devin can have like, guys, I've noticed, like, thankfully he's been like slowing down on his papers and things like that. But when he's in a rush, boy, like if he wants something done super fast, like you're like, okay, well, that's backwards. That's not right. What does that even say? Because it's just lines. And then he also won't erase things. Like if he writes like an O, but it's supposed to be an I, he just draws an I over it. And I'm like, what is that? Is that an O or an I? So, but he just wants to get things done and move on to the next thing. So like him, it's just about slowing down and just being like all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I'm proud of him. He's been doing so good this year that like I was so worried last year. Like, I mean, when I say he wasn't completing anything, like he was just zoning out and things like that, I was like, what is wrong with my kid? And then just getting a diagnosis, like getting into the doctor, doing all of that by myself, because Jeremy was deployed, like in the middle of all of that. And I was just like, how am I supposed, like, you just do everything. It's so, like, not only do I have to advocate for my kid, but I also have to do all the steps by myself.
It can be super hard. And like Dustin only ever gets 2-day weekends. Like that's what it is, at least with this job. And so, yeah, he's here to help with things, but the preteen thing has been making me, losing my mind. I don't even know. I was like, what did I do? I was such a nice kid. Why do I have this child who's just like demon spawn? I don't know. And it has been like the biggest struggle in parenthood so far has been Kira's attitude lately.
What is 12 is what? 12 is what grade level?
6.
Is that 6? Yeah. Dude, middle school girls are
mean.
Fucking mean. They're the meanest. The meanest.
Well, I think that's with us homeschooling. Instead of bullying other middle schoolers, she just bullies me all day. Like, get away from me. She calls me bruh all the time. I'm like, stop it.
Astrid does that. I'm like, I'm not a piece of underwear. And that throws her for a loop when I say it. So she'll stop for a little bit and then she'll forget and say it again. And then I'll have to say it again. She's like, that's not what I mean.
No,
so I try and ruin it for her so she'll stop.
As a kid, I hated middle school. Like, the girls were so freaking mean during middle school years. And I am not looking forward to my kids being in middle school. So I feel for you so much, Sabrina. But yeah, they're mean. They're just in that stage of just... I don't remember being mean. My mom said I was more mean my freshman year in high school. Like, that was my year where she was just like, I hated you your freshman year in high school. But it was also that year, like, where me and Brittany, so my twin sister ended up moving to live with my bio dad after our freshman year in high school. So, like, we, not only were we fighting, but so there was a single mom who lived next door to us who deployed, and she was only deploying for like 5 months. So she didn't want to send her daughter, who was in our grade, back over to the States for 5 months. So my parents were like, well, she can stay with us. So you had 3 freshmen kids in one house on top of my younger sister who's on the spectrum. My mom was just like, I hated you guys so much that year. And then like I said, my sister moved away and things kind of got better. But yeah, no, middle school kids are mean. I did not have a good experience with middle school girls.
I didn't have too bad in my middle school because I had grown up with all those kids. So that was before we made our like huge move in like 8th grade. So 6th and 7th grade were great, but
I would say 6th grade was the bad year. 7th and 8th grade were fine, but 6th grade, there was a girl who did not like me, and I had like the flu for a week, and when I came back to school, she had like spread this rumor about me, and like nobody talked to me for like the last like 2 middle schools.
Speaking of parenting things, I have a kid that has a GI issue, and she's like blowing my phone up like, can I come help her? So I'm gonna dip out to go help her because I don't know how long it's gonna take. She just had GI surgery, and so she's like, Mom, I need you. So,
go get her. Go save her.
So I'm going to go deal with that. I'm sorry to have to run. But mom life.
Yeah, mom life. Super. That's what we typically do.
I just got a booty call. I just got a booty call to come help clean her butt.
Oh, she's going to be so, like, don't tell her that you just told us that. She'll be so embarrassed.
Yeah, she probably would.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. That's typical mom life. Like, we have to go make, booty calls to go help a child. Actually, you know what? Talking about booty calls, I swear to God, if I have to remind my kids to wipe their own butts one more freaking time at their age, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to or flush the
at
toilet.
12 I'm still, so let's be real. So
my mind. Like, this morning, oh my God, I about lost it because I walked into the bathroom this morning and it was just full of shit. And I was like, what the hell? And I was like, who went to the bathroom and didn't flush? And Devil's like, I didn't want to wake anyone. I was like, I don't care what time it is. Flush the toilet. I was like, oh my God.
I will not hear it. Kira's done that before too. And I'm like, I would rather be woken up than hear that. Or like, wait, or no, I mean, like, come in the morning and smell that.
Like, why does the bathroom smell so bad? And I look down and it's just this gigantic dump. And I'm like, what? Like, seriously, first off, like, how is that coming out of your body? Number one. Number two, dude, you're 9. I shouldn't have to tell you to flush a toilet. I was like, dogs. You know how many times dogs go and drink out of the toilet? Like, it's just nasty. Stop being nasty tiny human beings. Oh my gosh, like some of the things. And then of course, like, boys, like I grew up with sisters. I have 4 sisters. I have a stepbrother now, but he's 18. So, but I didn't grow up with him. Like, he didn't come into our life until we were adults. And I grew up with girls. So I'm not used to how gross boys can be. And Devlin is so, like, I'm just like, dude, like, he'll like walk by, or he'll come sit down, come physically sit next to me and then fart and then walk away. And I'm like, seriously? Like, could you have not done that over the other side of the room? He's like, I didn't have to until I sat
It's just
down.
like
And
the
I'm like,
lack of
okay.
concern. They just don't care. They have
Well,
no F's to give. I feel like, because like Darren will be wearing the same socks for like 4 days straight, and I'll be like, dude, those are the same socks. They have holes in the bottom. And he's like, no, they're just comfortable. I'm like, that's just kind of raunchy.
they're
Like,
just lazy. I feel like they're also at that stage where like they don't care. Well, also Devlin just loves like, I'm trying to instill in him that he can't be naked all the time. Like, that boy hates clothes. And I'm like, you can't get up and just walk around the house and you're on. Thank God he wears underwear, but like walks around the house in underwear. Like, you have to put clothes on. Like, you can sleep in your underwear.
Darren
Cool.
still does.
But if you need to start, because like he'll come downstairs and stuff like that, and he'll be naked all day, and I'll be like, go put clothes on. I don't want to. Go put clothes on. I don't like to. And I was like, I don't care. Like, you have to go put at least pants on. Put some type of clothing of article on other than underwear. And I'm like, dude, you're 9. Like, you have to put clothes on. Like, he'll be naked and people will be over. Like, I'll be like, hey, go put clothes on. So-and-so is coming over. And he'd be like, I don't care. I'm like, I care. Go put clothes on. Children. But I don't know. I love momhood. I complain about it a lot. I feel like that takes up a lot of our space. Like, before kids, like, we complained about like other things. But I mean, I genuinely love being a mom.
I think the hardest part is the mom. Is like the mom guilt and the like the mental load of it, I guess, because it's like I always feel like I'm going to do something wrong, especially homeschooling. I'm like, are we doing enough? Is she getting enough, especially with her middle school now? Like, is this enough education? Like, or do I need to do more? And I realize it is. Like, I know deep down that like what we're doing is fine, because genuinely, as long as a child has math, English, and reading, like, it's not really, the rest of it isn't going to make much of a difference as you go on in life. But it's like, every day, like, I feel like I am letting my kids down, and it's not just for homeschool, but it's like everything. Like, that's the hardest part about being a mom, is like,
I struggle with the mom guilt so much, especially like with like when I get overstimulated and I'm like just ready to snap, and I'm just kind of like, are they gonna remember me about the yelling? Are they gonna remember me like taking them to do fun things, or like what are they going to take away from their childhood type of thing? And it's definitely one of those things where I'm like, I wonder, like, do I do enough? Like, am I letting them be on their screens too much or too little, or am I giving them the experiences that they need? I mean, I feel like every mom feels this way. Like, every mom has that mom guilt. Like, I think it just comes with being a mom. Like, are we enough? Do we do enough? Can I do better? And I think it's great when you talk to other moms, because they all feel the same way, and you learn that you're doing an amazing job at what you're doing. And you're going to have bad days. We all have bad days. But there's going to be so many good days filled in between that, those bad days, they're not going to remember the bad days. There are so many days where I'm just like, I'm a horrible mom. And like, there'll be days where I'll like message Jeremy and I'm just like, I feel like I'm failing in every aspect. Like, is the house clean enough? Am I making a nutritional meal? Like, am I, whatever it may be, I feel like I question something every day, no matter if it's something it's the same thing or something different. Like, it's always there. And I guess, like, you're doing, like, I don't know, like, if you're a mama listening, you are doing an amazing job. And it's okay to have bad days. It's okay to maybe lose your cool. Obviously, like, find ways to help you not do that. I'm the worst. Like, I've been learning over the last couple years that, I have thought it was anxiety, but I really do think it's ADHD, and I just get overstimulated, and then I just I didn't know she was in here. Is that who you were waving at earlier?
Yeah, she kept peeking around the wall.
Couldn't see her. Stinker, but yeah, so, finding, there could be something underlying that, like, if you have a short fuse or if you are depressed, you're not alone. Like, I guess that's the biggest thing is you're not alone. Find someone who you can connect with, who you can share, who is not going to judge you. Because it really truly makes a difference when you can talk to somebody about your feelings and they're not going to be like, "What? She just called her kids a fucking crotch goblin. Like, she's a horrible mom." Or like, hey, like, I want to throat punch my child, and you're not going to get judged for it. Like, you're going to just be like, hey, I understand that under like that sentiment of like, you are just absolutely fed up, done, overstimulated kind of thing. Like, let's plan a mom's night out. Let's plan something to get out of that headspace.
Yeah.
And having that connection is so important.
Well, and finding your tribe, but also finding ones that have similar kids' ages helps so much, because I think I've been struggling with the preteen thing, but then I've been talking to other moms at the homeschool group that have girls the same age, and they have the exact same stories. And I'm like, okay, so it's not, my child isn't just this like awful person.
Monster.
It's just the shit that we're going through right now.
Yeah, and I think that's so important because, like, things that I like are dealing with Devlin, like that age 9, like a lot of it other people are dealing with. And then, with babies and toddlers, like it's all the same. Like, we're all going through the same things. And then if it's not the same, you have someone you can chat with to determine if that's something you need to go check out. Like, you can go determine if you need to seek medical attention or advice or things like that. So you have to use your community. You have to use your tribe. I mean, the saying of "it takes a village" is true, and you shouldn't do it
This
alone.
is the village we're talking about. I think back in the days it used to be like family and having people within your house, but the village now is, especially when you have babies, I think is having people that are going through it at the same time, because it's not like they're raising your kids, but they can help you raise your kids, because this bottle worked way better, or my child slept better if I had the fan blowing. Like, there's these suggestions that you're not going to come up with when you're having a really hard night. And there's just this mom that's like, oh, I had that happening last week, and this is what we did, and it worked for us.
Yeah. Well, and then like just helping your sanity, like helping that, that was one of my biggest things is like, I felt so alone. Like, I felt like I was doing everything by myself. Was I? Not necessarily, but like I didn't have like a person like, hey, I felt this way too. Or, hey, you know what? You seem to be slowly edging over the edge. Why don't you let me take the baby and you go take a shower? Or go for a quick walk, like do something. And when you find that community and you find that connection, you find that person who can help you do that, it like I said, it really does make a difference. And my first, like both of my kids, like when they were born, like we moved shortly afterwards. So, I was really lonely when I had Devlin, my first kid. Like, I didn't know anybody. We moved to a special duty assignment. We didn't have, like, there wasn't other military like spouses or people that I could meet out of that way. And so when I had Claire, it was very different. Like, we moved to Bragg shortly. She was like 9 months after we moved. So like I was able to connect with other moms who had similar age kids. And it was like, oh, okay, it wasn't just me, or, oh, like that makes sense that she's doing that at this age. And I'm, and boys and girls are different too. Like, every kid is different. So it's like a new experience every time you have a child. But having that connection is it really is important. And it does take a village.
I remember seeing that tribe in action when we were at Bragg with the Deployed Love, like coffee chats. Those moms that come in, they're afraid, and they're like, I want coffee and I want to eat, but I can't eat because I have a baby. And we'd just be like, here,
and that's
I'll take that.
I am at that stage where I'm not having any more kids, and I don't want any more kids, but I am like baby fever. Like, I want to snuggle. I want to see the joy in their faces when they are like learning a new thing and things like that. And so, like, my friend that I've made here, she has a 2-year-old, and we have become BFFs. Like, me and her 2-year-old are Like she gets so excited when she sees me. She like knows what my vehicle looks like. So like we do school pickup. And I'm just like I told her, I was like, just bring me her. Like if you need a break, because she's a stay-at-home mama. And her oldest is 8 and her youngest is 2. So there's a really big age gap between the two. I was like,
Yeah,
if you need a break, if you want to go shopping by yourself, bring me her. Like I can handle her for a couple hours. But that was one of my favorite things about coffees, like at Bragg, was I would get my baby fix. And it was so great because like we've had spouses come who, you know, were pregnant and then newborn phase and then this like terrible 2-stage, terrible 3-stage,
see
or
them grow.
3
I
years.
know.
And
I'm
I'm
thinking
just
of
like,
like Casey, and she has another
yeah,
baby,
like
and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're missing all
when
these things.
I went down to Bragg a couple weeks ago for the event that we did, I stayed with a friend who has 2 under 2, and I was just like, give me them. Like I was like, go do your thing. Like gimme. Like don't worry about it. And I got baby snuggles, and it was like I was sending Jeremy text messages. I'm like, look how smart he is. Like, you know, the oldest is just turned 2 and he knew alphabets by sight. And I was like, look how smart he is. Like, do you remember like when he was like throwing the passy at you in the office? And it's so exciting to see our friends' kids grow because like I don't know, I feel invested in my friends' kids and stuff, like, you know, watching them grow and stuff like that. I mean, how big our kids have gotten in the 4 years, like it's blowing my mind. Like the fact that Kira's turning 12 is blowing my mind
I
right
know.
now.
It's so
And
crazy. And I think it's because my military family is my family. Like
yeah,
I spend more time, honestly. I go see my family once a year. So I see my friends so much more. And so it's like, this is my baby, this is my cousin, this is my niece. Like these are all
yeah,
people that
well,
are
and
my family
that's the
now.
fun part about being like, I mean, that's why one of my main reasons why I love being a military spouse, because you become an aunt to so many people. You become family with your friends that you've met, and then, you know, yeah, we may go separate ways, but like we still have these connections. We went through things together that no other people go through in a lifetime, let alone in a few years or with other people. So, you know, Jeremy was making me laugh because I grew up military. He grew up military too, but like he had a bit of a different family dynamic. But I 100% have aunts and uncles who are not related by blood. They are family friends that we have met over the years who became family through different duty stations. And same thing for my kids. Same thing. I'm an auntie to a lot of people. No blood tie, but I've been there from birth. I've been there through all of the struggles, and 100% will tag on that auntie tab to whoever wants that, because I feel like I'm there and I can be that aunt for someone, because some people don't have family or don't go see their family. That's another thing. Like some people just don't go see their family. They need that connection. And it's a fun way to have, especially when you're in duty stations where you can't go visit your own family. You can build that family.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Or if you're a person who doesn't want to have kids but loves kids, or I don't know, like there's just so much. It's definitely,
Yeah, I was definitely an auntie in Hawaii, and I was only like 19, but I had one of my best friends, she had 2 kids, and I was at her house all the time. They came to
yeah.
my house, she dropped them off and babysit them, and they were just like there, and we were just part of each other's lives. And so you don't have to have kids to still hang out with moms and have mom friends, and we'll love you too, especially if you babysit, because it helps. Like,
I mean, like, and that's like, don't make friends with someone just so you have a free babysitter. Like, obviously that's a big no-no, but like, I'm always the first person to say, like, bring me your kid. Like, I don't care if it's for an hour. I don't care if it's overnight. I'm here if you need me. But that's just kind of like the way I am, because I know what it's like to be a mom. I know the importance of having a financially, like the financial stress of not having to worry about finding a sitter for an event, but being able to go do things because I can go do it because I know the person I have left my kids with, I trust. 2, I'm not paying for it. I mean, you can always pay your friend to babysit. I always try to do something nice for my friends in some way or another, like either watching their kids in return or I don't know, coffee or something like that. But it's just one of those things where like you
I feel like most often I end up babysitting it's because I am already doing the favor. Like there's just so
yeah,
many things that come up. Like I've had friends that are like, "Hey, I have to go to the hospital. It's right by your house. Can I just drop off my kids on the way?" For
yeah.
whatever appointment. And it's like, yeah. I mean, why what else am I doing? Yes, of course, just drop your kid off.
Well, especially like, like I told my friend on the road, I was like, I work from home. Like, if you need me, don't hesitate
I'm
to
here
ask.
all
Like,
the time.
like she was so hesitant to ask the other night to babysit. And I was like, why are you even like, she's like, you don't have to if you don't want to. I was like, bring me her. I was like, they will be fine. And she was completely fine. Did she totally fine. Yeah. But like, there's been so many times where I'm like, oh, like we have a ball coming up, a ball. And I messaged her and I was like, hey, are you free this day? Will you be willing to babysit? It's going to be kind of a late night. And she's like, yeah, absolutely. Like Grayson would love to have them back over again. And I was like, perfect. Great. Thank you. Cause like, I could have hired a babysitter to come to the house, but it's $100 minimum for just a babysitter. And then I'm having to kind of like check in because they don't know my kids and things like that. And she knows mine. And so it just kind of takes pressure off when
It
you're
really
able to do
does,
that.
yeah.
But like don't abuse that power too. Like I've definitely known people who have only been friends with me because I have that mentality of like, yeah, I can watch the kids. Like that's not a problem. But there was never any kind of like that was the only thing we did. Like there wasn't like, hey, let's go meet for coffee or hey, let's, anything like that. And that's where it's kind of borderline like not okay. But like a one-time incident, like if a friend, like an acquaintance or a friend was like, hey, like I'm in a tight bind, can you watch my kids? Absolutely. Like, but that's what we should be as moms. Like, hopefully, we see the need to help other moms be the best they can be.
Just finding those people that you can trust and you have to find them quickly. Every time we move, you have to find at least one person that you can trust your kids with because like you said, our husbands aren't here half the time
Mhm.
and when an emergency happens, you can't just call them and be like, "Hey, you got to come home." That's not going to
Yeah,
happen. So you have
it's
to have someone
not.
that you can be like, "Hey, I have to go to the hospital. I broke my foot. Can you take my
Mhm.
kids?" Like
Oh, or hey,
something.
I mean, and it's always gonna happen. Or it's like, hey, I've had a really bad day. Can you come over and just help me control the chaos? Like, even that alone is just
Mhm.
super helpful. Or, hey, I don't want to eat. I don't want to be the only adult. Like, come over and have dinner with me. I'll cook dinner. And simple things like that can just make a world of a difference in change in another person's mental health. And as military moms, specifically moms who are military spouses, we deal with a lot of stressors and a lot of things that yeah, there's probably other people who deal with the same type of things. They feel like the same way, but like they're not dealing with their significant other being gone a lot.
A lot.
And
Yeah.
even when your spouse is home, you're still that priority, that main parent because you're the always the person that's a disciplinary. You're the person who's the caregiver. You're the person who is the hammer. You're everything to the kids majority of the time. And so having even a person going rooting behind you, like our friend Courtney, like I love Courtney because Courtney would be my biggest hype woman. She'd be like sitting in the back corner, like, you heard your mom. Like she would just make sure that like it was instilled that like what I said was like solid and there was no like work around it. And so, even just having someone there going like, your mom told you not to do that, so why are you still doing it? And having
Yeah.
someone back you is amazing.
Mhm. Yeah,
I don't
motherhood,
know.
right? It's just all of
Motherhood,
this.
right?
There's just so much to
Like,
like.
I love it. Like, it's one of those, like, it's not a love-hate relationship. I love being a mom. I could not imagine not being a mom, but at the same time, it's a hard job. It's hard.
It's a whole I mean, it's just
And
it never ends.
It never ends. You don't put yourself first. And, you know, we've talked about this so much where we've like, you know, you have to find something to do for yourself. And I feel like as the kids get older, it's a lot easier to do that. But when they're really little, it's really hard to do that. It's really hard to find things to do for yourself. So when you can, find you again, boo. Like, find what makes you happy, like what makes, you know, fills your bucket. Even if it's reading or doing a craft or taking a bubble bath. Like, that was my big thing. I was like, I don't care if the child is screaming. Here's the baby. I'm going to go take a bath. Like, it was one of those, like, I made sure that I took 20 minutes or so to go at least wash away my worries, if that's the best way to say it. Like, but I promise you it gets better. And then I think it gets worse again because, like Sabrina said, she's over Kira. But we only get them for 18 years. And, like, that seems like a long time. But it really isn't. Like, I can't believe Devlin's almost 10.
I know.
And, like,
yeah.
Like, I mean, Kira turns 12. In 4 years, she's driving. Like,
yep. It's crazy, but it feels real as it goes because I'm like, she stood up to me today because she's so excited to measure herself on Monday on her birthday. And she's like, look, I used to be up to your shoulder. Now I'm up to your nose. I'm like, I know. And you're wearing my shoes every day and you fit in my clothes. And
dude, I know. That's like Devlin and I pretty much wear like almost the same size shoe right now. Now, granted, I'm a girl and he's a boy and he's definitely tall. But I'm like, you're 9. Like, he's like, he keeps mentioning, like, I think I'm going to be taller than you. I was like, I guarantee you will be taller than me. I'm not tall, honey.
Right.
So
yeah, all 3 of us wear pretty much the same size of shoes now, both kids and me. I'm like, cool. I put on Darren's winter shoes and I was like, oh, my feet fit in here. That's weird.
oh my goodness. That is when you get to that point that you can wear your kids' clothes, you know that you're getting old.
You're just getting old. That 35 mark, man. Like,
35 mark.
Justin's like, oh man, you're 5 years away from 40.
I know, and I'm not looking like I had no issue turning 30, no issue turning 35. But the thought of turning 40, I'm just like, why is that like such a hard thing for my brain to wrap around? Like,
it probably won't be. Once we get to like 38, we'll be like
once we get
40
there,
is just
once
another
we get
number.
there, like, but like right now, I'm just kind of like, huh. Like, I don't know. If
I feel like it's not too bad because a lot of the moms here, because Stuttgart, if you guys don't know, is like a big officer base. It's a lot of like people who've been in for a really long time. So a lot of the moms at the homeschool group are all in their 40s already. So I'm like one of the youngest ones here. So it's like, I guess it's okay if I can hang out with them and it feels the same, like the same kind of people, then I guess it's no difference. But
I think that's why 40 is such a big deal for me, because I'm still an active duty spouse who's on the older side. Like, most of the people that we like associate with within the military are really young, and it just makes me feel older. So like when I'm like hitting that 40 mark, I'm just like, wow. But at the same time, like when I turn 40, Jeremy should be potentially like
almost done.
Yeah, like almost done. Like he'll be at his 20-year mark. So like right around that time. So like it's almost kind of like our like really big transition. Like if he stays
in the military world, we are old.
We are old. I mean, we're the
in the military world we are, because a lot of people don't stay in this long. So we are the older. I mean, there still is a lot that are older than us. Like especially when I walk around Stuttgart and I look at these captains and stuff that are like gray. I'm like, well, maybe I'm not that old, but for the general population of the military,
for the general, especially and depending on the MOS too. Like I feel like, you know, Jeremy's in the infantry, so like it's prominently young 18 to 24, 25-year-olds who get out, who don't stay in. And those who are staying in are, they're sometimes married, sometimes they're not. So, or they're just over the military so they don't do anything with other military families like Jeremy. But yeah, I don't know. It's Momhood
So speaking
is great.
of old, like we started out talking about wanting another person to join us, but we can end that too. Like if you're younger and want to bring a little bit of not old to our podcast and help us reach your generation a little bit better, we definitely are looking for that. So
yeah, and I think it's important that we have that because, you know, like Sabrina said at the beginning, we haven't gone through a lot of the things that, you know, everyone's going through in over a decade. It's been almost 15 years since we've done like basic and all that kind of stuff. And it would be really nice to have some fresh perspective and having someone who is newer to the military life, because you might can tell we can be a little bitter about it. So we've been here for a while. I mean, I wouldn't change it. I'm saying like I get bitter about it, but like it's old. It can get real old real fast, and we understand that. So, but it would be nice to, you know, have that face on here who's been a little bit newer, seeing things with new eyes, because that's really important. Like we see everything the way we've seen it for the last 15 years. So hopefully you come join us. We can be fun.
Yeah. Well, if you guys stuck around this long, thank you. It's been a longer episode, but we love girl chats, and I'm glad that they're back in our like run up of more episodes like this, because it's just nice to just kind of go through life and have friends and talk to you guys and listen to what your stories too. So thank you guys for joining us. We'll be back again with another guest in 2 weeks, and we look forward to talking to you guys later. So Ruck Up Buttercup.